We are going to do one last example of using negative exponents alongside of the other exponent laws that we've learned so far. So our last question here says, simplify using exponent laws. Write your final answers using positive exponents. And the question is x to the power of 15 divided by x to the power of 8. And then those two brackets mean times, so times x to the power of 9. So when you have a question that has multiple operations, you should try to follow order of operations or BEDMAS. So we should start with brackets, then exponents, then division and multiplication. And then if we had addition and subtraction, we would do that last, but we don't do exponent laws with addition and subtraction. So when I look at this question, I do notice that there are brackets, but those brackets are really there just to show multiplication. So I don't really have any exponents. An exponent would be a power on a power. All of these things have exponents. But when we do exponents in BEDMAS, we're talking about having two exponents on the same base, which I do not have. And then that brings me to division and multiplication. So before I can do the division and the fraction, I need to do the multiplication that's in the denominator. So I want to simplify the numerator and denominator as much as I can. So the numerator is fine the way it is, but the denominator, I can multiply those two together. So I know at this point, my next step is definitely still going to be a fraction. So I'm going to type equals. And then to make a fraction, I'm going to use the /, which for me on my keyboard is located next to my shift key on the right-hand side of my keyboard. So when I hit that /, it's also the one with the question mark. It made me a fraction. So on the top, still going to be x to the 15. So I'm going to type x. To do the exponent, I do shift and 6. The caret is above the 6 on my keyboard. So I'm going to do to the power of 15. So I didn't change anything. And then I'm going to use my arrow keys to move down to the denominator. Now, x to the 8 times x to the 9. When you multiply two things with the same base, you leave the base the same. So it's still going to be x. And then you add your two exponents together. So 8 plus 9 is 17. So it's going to be x to the power of 17. So I've already typed my x. I'm going to do shift and 6 to get that exponent. And then I'm going to type in 17. Now it is very tempting to multiply those two exponents together, but when we multiply, we don't multiply, we add. So I need to move to the next line. I'm going to press enter, and then I'm now ready to do the division. So I'm going to start with equals. X to the 15 divided by x to the 17. When you have the same base, you leave the base the same. So I write x, and you subtract your exponents. It is very tempting to divide them, but you want to make sure that you subtract. So 15 take away 17. If you have a little trouble with integers, you can bring up that scientific calculator, and you can do 15 take away 17, which gives me -2. So this is going to be x to the power of -2. So to get that exponent, I do shift and 6 to move up, and then I get -2. So I have x to the power of -2. Now the question asked for positive exponents in our answer, so I do need to have one more step. So I'm going to hit enter. A negative exponent makes a fraction. So this is going to equal 1 over x to the power of 2. So I know it's a fraction, so I'm going to use that / to make the fraction. I'm going to put 1 on the top and then arrow down to the bottom, and then x. To do the power of, I do shift and 6, and then 2. Now from here, I couldn't work that out if I wanted to, since x is not a number, it's a variable. So my final answer is 1 over x to the power of 2.